Big changes are coming to Colorado housing, and if you've ever thought about getting a rental unit or a place for your mother-in-law to stay, now's the time to listen up. A new ADU legislation just passed, and it's a game changer for homeowners and renters alike. From cutting red tape to providing millions of dollars for ADU developments, this is going to reshape how Coloradans live and invest. Let's go check out the bill HB 24-1152, otherwise known as the ADU bill. So what's the basis for this ADU movement? Well, Representative Judy Amabile says, "We need an all-hands approach to tackle Colorado's housing crisis, and that includes allowing homeowners to have ADUs on their properties. It's a more affordable option for renters, and they give homeowners the freedom to use their property to house a family member or earn some extra income." There are 5 key points to this ADU legislation, and we're going to be going over them right now. Number 1, there's a statewide impact, mainly with an urban focus. So this bill primarily affects the MPOs, or Metropolitan Planning Organizations, such as Denver, Colorado Springs, and Boulder. The bill will make available a lot more funding to spur the ADU developments and make things a little bit more approachable for the typical homeowner in Colorado. In the declaration notes of the ADU bill, it notes that California has seen a huge benefit with having ADUs within its metropolitan cities. Specifically in California, that number of ADUs increased from 1,000 in 2016 all the way up to 24,000 in 2022. And like I mentioned earlier, this only affects Metropolitan Planning Organizations, or MPOs, and not necessarily like rural areas where there's not like over 1,000 people living in those areas. The second key concept is that it has unified regulations, and instead of having, let's say, one town having a certain number or certain regulations and then another city having another set, it's all going to be the consistent framework all within the state of Colorado. So the whole permitting process is going to be the same throughout the states if you are within one of those MPOs. This bill also prohibits the ban on ADUs no matter where they are, as long as they are in an eligible zone. And I'll be going over the eligible zones further into the video, so just hold tight real quick. It also removes the requirements to have a dedicated space for those ADU dwellers to park. And why is that such a big deal? Well, let's say you have an ADU in your backyard and for some reason you need a dedicated space for those ADU dwellers, right? So imagine having to have like a driveway or a garage space just to be like accommodating for that ADU. It just requires a lot more space and a lot more, I don't know, maybe funding for it to actually happen. So the fact of not having to have that dedicated space means that they could just park on the street and you don't have to dedicate some of that precious lot square footage just for parking. Also, as part of the unified regulations, it also allows these ADUs to have the proper setbacks that are as if they are the primary residences. For example, let's say you have the primary home, they have different setback rules compared to the ADUs that can be built currently. But thanks to this bill, you can have the setbacks be the same as the primary residence, which means it's a lot more lenient to have the ADUs. And if you're finding this information informative or just downright awesome, make sure you like and subscribe, because I love to do this for you and I don't want you to miss another video of mine, especially when you want to invest in the Denver area. The third key concept is that there is flexibility in owner-occupied requirements. Basically, the bill eliminates the need for you to actually live in the home in order for you to build an ADU on the lot. However, municipalities can require the owner to have to live in the primary residence while the ADU is being built. Also, municipalities can require you to stay in the place in order for you to qualify for short-term rental licensing, which is likely the case for, let's say, Lakewood or Aurora or City of Denver, where they need you to be living on that lot in order for you to have a short-term rental license. So the fact that you don't have to live in the place in order for you to build an ADU, especially as an investment property, is huge for house hackers that want to move on from one place to the next. The fourth key concept is that there is a difference in dimension and design standards now. Restrictions on architectural styles or materials that are more restrictive than the primary residence on that lot is strictly forbidden thanks to this bill. Legislation also requires that the ADU has to be at least 500 square feet and at most 750 square feet. And like I mentioned before, ADUs currently have a lot more restrictions as far as architectural styles or materials or even setbacks. So with this bill, you can have a lot more flexibility in what you actually want it to look like and also how far back into the property you can have it. And number 5 is that it expands the housing accessibility. This bill aligns with a lot of Colorado's values of trying to get a lot more people to live within the city of Denver and not have to live out in the boonies in order for you to afford something. Plus, this bill is allocating about $8 million just to have a lot of the red tape and also the design standards be fully funded by those that qualify, especially if you're middle or low income. Legislation builds on top of these updated zonings that are happening within Denver. So now they allow ADUs in all residential zones, which is about 70% of the city. These changes aim to provide a lot more solutions for multi-generational housing or rental income coming into the household. And when you have low and middle income residents coming into play here, house hacking just got a lot more affordable, especially if you want to have a detached unit that is nowhere near where you're living. And real quick before you start building an ADU, the price of the ADU does not reflect on the equity of the property. For example, if the cost of the ADU is $200,000, do not expect the value of the property to increase by $200,000. Instead, I would expect maybe about 30% of that cost go towards the equity of the home. And even though you're not getting the return on investment on the equity portion, you're definitely getting a significant boost in cash flow on the property. So let's say if you were to build an ADU that's maybe a 1-bed, 1-bath or a 2-bed, 1-bath within the city of Denver, and let's say that costs about $200,000 and you're able to rent it out for about $1,500 a month. If you divide that $200,000 by the $1,500 that you're getting per month, you would likely pay back that ADU within 11 years. And that is without including the 30% that you're putting into appreciation or equity in the property itself. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. And if that doesn't make sense, all my contact information is down below. Feel free to text me or call me or send me an email with any of your questions regarding this. I love helping house hackers and investors and also homeowners getting into the Colorado space. And when ADUs come into play, I just get really excited for it. So now that we established HB 24-1152, what do we do to take advantage of this bill? Turns out this bill is still unfolding, but on June 30th, 2025, this is a huge milestone for the bill. And why is that a huge milestone? Well, at that time, the jurisdictions have to comply with a lot of the ADU regulations and verify that they are compliant with them. So what is one of these jurisdictions, right? Well, it's a municipality with 1,000 or more people, or the portion of a county that is both within a census designated space with a population of 40,000 or more. And just a reminder, this is all within the MPOs, just like Denver or Colorado Springs or Boulder, and it could qualify for other cities or municipalities throughout the state. Section 3 of the bill will allow $8 million through the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority to help out low and middle income families to build ADUs on their property. And these credits are going towards affordable loans, down payment assistance programs, or interest rate buydowns, which is pretty sweet for those low and middle income families. So with all this being said, there's a lot of development happening within the ADU development. No pun intended. So for those of you that are excited for this bill, June 30th, 2025 is when you start to see jurisdictions coming in to show that they are truly compliant with this new bill. And honestly, I'm seeing a lot of updates with the Colorado State just giving a lot more incentive to start house hacking and have a more dense population within the city of Denver and also where the jobs are. So me personally, I'm super excited for this. I'm very bullish on the state of Colorado, especially when it comes to house hacking. With the concept of basements already here and now ADUs coming into play, this is absolutely huge for those of you who are trying to start to invest or house hack in the Denver area. So if you're ever curious about this stuff or just want to know what it's like to start house hacking or have some questions, make sure you contact me. All my contact information is down below in the description. Make sure you like and subscribe, and all this stuff is very exciting. And if there's anything else that you want me to talk about, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.